Okay, so my bookcase looks a little different right now, and it is because a lot of things are facing the other way around. This is what is left on my physical TBR. Oh my gosh. I honestly went through the process of turning everything around and thought, I've read at least like a solid third. Nah. Nah, I have not. So I'm gonna run through it really quickly and see what is left on my physical TBR, but I'm actually gonna go through it really fast, and I'm only gonna give like one sentence or like one really brief idea of what a book is about, because otherwise we'll be here all day and it'll be like a 10-hour video. So let's go. Okay, first up on my white shelf, I have Devil Wears Prada, self-explanatory. A Steal of a Deal, art heist versus romance setup. No, romance, some sort of art heist. True Valor and True Honor are part of the D. Henderson series with like Navy SEALs. The Singer, I think, is a poetic retelling of the story of Jesus. Once Upon a Prince is like the movie where they swap places. I think that movie with Vanessa Hudgens is based on this. Romance with a Prince. Faithful Spy is to do with the pastor in Nazi Germany. The Hidden, I believe, is to do again with like World War II, and someone is trying to find their long lost relative. The Appeal is actually set out not like normal book format, but it goes through a process with a law firm. By any other name, a journalist meets her favorite author and discovers he's not what she seems. He's not who he seems. Hello, Cruel Heart is a follow-up to a Cruella, the movie, and the book that came out, which is down there somewhere. Firefly Generations, the TV show, had a book that was about, I think, a ghost ship maybe. Overcomer, which is based off of the movie, where there is a runner, and it's a story about trusting God, I believe, and doing all that you can do, something like that. Oh my gosh, now I can't get it back in, hang on. Catch Me If You Can, based on the movie. Expiration Date is based on a guy who can determine the date and time that someone will die just by looking at them, and a serial killer plays cat and mouse. The Seamstress is about a seamstress in the time of Marie Antoinette, and then when it all went down. Paul, Apostle of Christ, it's a retelling of Paul the Apostle and his story. It is also based off of a movie. The Calling and The Returning are the next two in the Seer Chronicles, which is a YA dystopian about a crazy world run by a cult. A Glitter of Gold is about a pirate treasure ship. Sherlock Holmes, self-explanatory, that's the entire collection. These are Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Hulk, Avengers, Captain America, apparently the first Avenger, Guardians of the Galaxy, The Avengers Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, Civil War, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. These are literally just the movies, but in book form. Those are really fun. Okay, shelf number 2. Bom, bam. Okay, plot twist is about a writer and an actor who decide to meet up 10 years later. Meet Me in the Margins is all over the place. An author leaves her script somewhere, an author leaves her book somewhere, and someone randomly puts their thoughts in the margins and they fall in love somehow. Sins of the Past is a 3 novella in one, and they are all very different stories, but somehow they must link in together, I feel. Taken is about someone who was abducted 12 years ago, and she decides to come back even though the mob was involved. Sons of Encouragement is literally the retelling of, I think, 4 or 5 different guys from the Bible, and they are novellas. Lost Ark of the Covenant, I believe, has to do with the Ark of the Covenant and finding it. The Sacred Cipher is to do with finding more scrolls, like the Dead Sea Scrolls, but this has some sort of mystery with it, maybe a treasure. Murder Most Fancy, I believe, has to do with a murder, but it is supposed to be funny, and it's supposed to be for some rich lady, I think. Don't hold me to that. Casino Royale, Ian Fleming, that is a James Bond book. I have no idea what it's about. The Jungle Book is apparently a book. I didn't know that. Art of Romance is grannies setting up their grandmas setting up their grandkids together for romantic stuff. Flight Risk has to do with an airplane. I think that there's a terrorist attack happening on the plane. Lightning, I believe, has to do with lightning power. A kid with lightning powers saving the world. At the movies, there is a murder at the movies, and a middle grade. This is a middle grade book. A middle grader type of an age decides she wants to investigate and tell everyone what happened. The Last Con has to do with a con man who is roped back into doing cons, even though he wanted to get out of it. We are not even a third of the way through. All Fair in Love and Cupcakes, I believe, is about, you know, a baker who falls in love. Haven of Swans has a murder mystery in there. 9 by Rochelle Decker, a girl who can't remember anything rocks up at a diner and someone, a very kindly stranger, gets wrapped up in the mystery. Tacos for 2, Food Truck Battle Royale, Formula of Deception. I can't remember. I think it's another crime fiction. Some sort of crime going on. The Circle, this is all 4 books in The Circle story, the main story, I believe. Parallel universes that are related. Saint, again, it's in one of those parallel, same universe as The Circle, and it is one of those parallel worlds where there is literally a priest who is also an assassin. Family of Strangers is to do with sister dynamics, and it's a drama. The Recovery Agent is to do, I think, with like recovering things and investigating. I don't know. Same author as Stephanie Plum. What are those? Anyway, moving on. Next shelf. I think this is like the shelf in the middle, so we're getting there. This is now has to do, I believe, with bank heist and the 5 people who were involved. The 13th tribe is imagining if there was 13 tribes of Israel, except the last tribe was punished by having to walk around the earth eternally, and they're trying to get rid, and they kill off but who they see as evil to try and atone for having to live immortally, because that would stink. The Cost of Betrayal is again one of these 3 novellas by the same authors, Henderson, Petrie, and Eason, and I believe they have some sort of link. So, Threads of Suspicion and Traces of Guilt are both Evie Blackwell cold case books, where there is a cold case that this person, Evie Blackwell, is investigating. I tried to read both of these and I didn't make it very far away through, so anyway, I'll come back to those another day. The Gifted, I believe, is sort of a medieval type fantasy story. The Masterpiece is about an what's that word I'm thinking of? Honestly, how sad. The Masterpiece is about an artist who makes masterpieces out of people's terrible stories and makes them look beautiful, and someone falls in love. The Man Who Died Twice is the follow-up to the Thursday Murder Club. Octogenarians, old people who are investigating crimes. It's fantastic. All About Us, I believe, is a romance story. It is set in Christmas time, I think, so I have put it off for quite a while. Moving on, Legally Blonde, self-explanatory, based on the movie. End of the Roadie is a murder mystery for a roadie, and I believe that's also like for like middle grade. Dead Broke in Jarrett Creek, there is the entire Jarrett Creek is supposed to be broke, and there's a big scandal and there's a big conspiracy. The Last Christian, a woman comes out of a cave and miraculously is the only Christian left on the planet, with AI ruling everything. The Jazz Files is written back in, what, I guess the 50s, the 40s, and has to do with a female detective at the time, a very big new. The book Ninja I got somewhere. I don't really know a lot about it, except that she works at a bookstore and she believes she knows exactly what people want to read based on who they are. Super Fake Love Song, hilarious. A guy pretends that he is in a band to impress a girl and then ends up having to actually pretend to have a band. Better Than the Movies, a guy, I think a guy ends up trying to win over a girl by using ploys from the movies. Waiting for Tom Hanks, a girl falls in love with a guy on set and she wishes he was Tom Hanks. He's not. Stratagem. I think Con Man tries to run a game. Recruits. YA fantasy with, I don't know, machines, I think. Fatal Trust. I believe a lawyer is trying to be involved with mobsters. I don't know, something like that. Dark Harbor, honestly, I have absolutely no clue. All I know is it's a romantic suspense and it's very short. This is not the Jess show. Something is weird. It is the 90s, but she sees a smartphone drop on the floor. What the heck is going on? I think pretty much we can all guess, but that's fine. The Ether is about a guardian angel in training who ends up wanting to go down and actually be a guardian angel. That sounded really cute. Father of the Bride, again, based off of the movie. If you've seen the OG or the Steve Martin one, that's that one. The Heart Between Us is about a girl who gets a heart transplant, and she follows the to-do list from the girl who died, who gave her heart. Girl on Tour, I think, is part of a series. Again, I got this from somewhere. I don't really know a lot about it, except that it's a girl and she's on tour and she's a teenager. Dark Deception, Nancy Mel is Oh gosh, what is this? Defenders of Justice. I feel like this is definitely a crime fiction. Midnight Library, that's been talked about a lot. A lady dies and she discovers a library which mapped out all of the different choices she could have made in her life, and she goes through that process. The Lineage of Grace is another one of those 5 women from the Bible, and there are novellas about them and their story. Oh my gosh, we're finally down to the next one. This literally is the shelf with the most turned around that I have read. So here we go. My Life as a Toasted Time Traveler by Bill Myers. Hilarious Wally. He is a silly little, very imaginative kid who always goes through these absolutely fantastical stories, and this one's about time travel. Then we have all these 4 books are part of a series, the triple threat novels, Face of Betrayal, Eyes of Justice, Heart of Ice, and Hand of Fate. These are super intense crime fiction. Like, they handle some really serious stuff and they are really intense. I tried to read one once. Okay, so we have the rest of the Red Queen series, Glass Sword, King's Cage, and War Storm. Then I have up here the Inheritance games, Hawthorne Legacy. I'm hoping to go and get the Final Gambit really soon, but those are there. And the second book in the Viking Quest series, The Mystery of the Silver Coins, which is, I think, like a middle grade type of novel, and I actually really liked those growing up, and I thought they were really fun, so I got that. Second book. Okay, so I have up here is The Hunger Games, so I have the other 2, and I have all of the Divergent books. Hunger Games is children facing off to the death in the middle of a ring. Divergent is children deciding what part of society they want to be part of and realizing that actually some of them don't fit in those boxes. Moving on. Probably didn't need to explain those, but it's okay. A Time to Die. Everybody knows the exact time and date they're going to die, and there is a conspiracy on what happens when you actually die. The Griffin Heist. There is a heist of a very high-tech, very secret technology storage warehouse. The Pawn has to do with a cat and mouse serial killer. The Witnesses has to do with a supernatural element of witnesses going missing and not being able to testify in very serious cases. The 49th Mystic is again part of the Circle world and has to do with the mysterious prophetic person who was apparently a fixture, or some is led to her story in the original books. Twisted by Steve Kavanaugh, I think, is a really unreliable narrator type of story when you don't know what's going on. The Paris Apartment. A woman's brother goes missing. She moves into his apartment in Paris to figure out what happened to him and interviews all the neighbors. Some stuff's going down. Right, moving on. So we have Final Touch and Last Breath. These are book 2 and 3 in a series, and I didn't get the first one, and I just haven't bothered to get it yet, so I have been putting off reading these, but I believe they have to do with a murder at a rock concert. The Last Plea Bargain has to do with a lawyer trying a case, I guess. Moriarty has to do with the... I'm running out of breath, honestly. Moriarty, the villain, the main super villain nemesis of Sherlock Holmes, gets his own stories. How exciting is that? The Adventures in Odyssey Blackguard Chronicles. If you don't know who Dr. Richard Blackguard was, he was a character on Adventures in Odyssey, which is a radio show full of Christian things, and it was really fun and really cute. I got that for like $4. Cruella, based off of the movie. Noah's Law has to do with a teenager who ends up working in his dad's law firm as paralegal because he's a little bit of a mischievous person. 13, also by Steve Kavanaugh, has to do with a jury, I believe. Superman, Dawnbreaker is a Superman novel that with, well, Superboy, I suppose. More like Smallville. Believers Among Us is a collection of short stories / novellas, human beings making terrible mistakes. Broken by Travis Thrasher. I actually have absolutely no idea, and I'm a little terrified to read this because he writes supernatural fiction. Right, moving right along. Shakespeare's Sword. A sword pops up on the black market and people claim it is Shakespeare's and everybody wants it. That sounded really fun. Remnants is the first in a fantasy world where certain groups of people have superpowers and they are mistreated. Shocker. Ha! Ha! Hilarious shock. The Orphan's Wish is a Christian retelling of Aladdin. Blessed Child is about a little kid, very little kid, 10 years old, who seems to be able to actually heal anybody he touches, and the world debates on how he should be handled while he's in the middle of a monk place. I don't know what those are called. The Man He Never Was is a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde retelling. Storm Siren is about a girl who has lightning powers. Seconds to Live is a Homeland Security type of a story with a bomb. No One to Trust is a crime fiction I can't remember anything about. The String has to do with a serial killer cat and mouse game. If you couldn't already tell, I quite like those. And Dangerous Legacy is set in, I believe, the 40s or maybe even earlier, with a woman who is running the telegraph office and finds out about a mysterious crime. Last shelf, Walt Disney's Stories from Another Land, basically the really OG type of Walt Disney stories. I thought that would be fun. And Jungle Warfare, which was from an antique store and has stories from a war of some kind from the army people in the war. So that sounded like it would be interesting. The Christie books are little mini books. This is just one. I literally got this when I was a teenager because it has my name, but it is frontier type of stories and romance. Arcade and the Golden Travel Guide, basically a middle grade book of a kid who seems to have a mysterious golden travel coin, which everybody wants. Tiger Queen. Oh my gosh, I'm out of breath. Arabian Queen has to try and prove she's worthy by fighting a tiger. Oh my gosh, I'm not even kidding. In this moment, a Christian tries to fight for the library, for prayer in the library or something like that, I think, to keep a library, something like that. Then we have Heat Rises, Frozen Heat, and Deadly Heat. These are the Richard Castle books I haven't read yet. There's also a few more that I don't have in my list, but you know, these are what I've got. And the last one in this pile here is Lois and Clark, which is a novel based off of the Lois and Clark TV show Superman. Love it, love it, love it. That is, believe it or not, back to front. I have the Coco Chanel. It's really a coffee table book, and it is all about Chanel. And then I have, okay, these two I got from Dymocks on sale. A fatal finale, Death at an Opera. Miss Mohair Goes Missing. A chick in the 1800s wants to try and solve crimes because she's bored. Runaway Jury, John Grisham, classic jury story by John Grisham. And then up the top here, the last few ones we're going to talk about because these are all my Bibles. We have Robinson, the story of Robinson Crusoe, which is supposed to be somewhat of a classic, and a Hawaii Five-0 novel, because believe it or not, they were novels. And I had no idea until I found this book at an op shop. There you have it. That is everything that I still have to read. Me realizing that actually that could have been very loud because the camera is right here. Yeah, killing it. I'm crushing it like this. Anyway, there are literally so many books on this. I way more than I thought, but it's okay because I'm gonna make my way through them and hopefully not borrow too many from the library because honestly, I really need to get through what I already own. Alright, well, if you have read any of those, let me know if they were any good. But otherwise, I will see you guys in the adventures. Bye!